Right, welcome back, guys and girls. We're on episode 72, which is going to be film endings. Before we crack on, though, let's introduce everyone. So, Gaz, go first.
Hi, guys. Going to look forward to this. Was in the driving seat last week, so looking forward to taking more of a chilled back seat this week. Again, it seems to be a bit of a theme at the moment with my drinks. It's Leffe, love this drink. Rapidly becoming my favourite, 6.6%, 750ml of absolute nectar. And again, it's out of a TBR podcast. So yeah, looking forward to this.
Brad?
I have this week, thank you for introducing me, another Brewdog beer, but this one is my new favourite, shall we say. It's Mr. President. It's a dipper, a double IPA. I don't know if you've had that one before. 9.2% of loveliness. So I'll be taking it a little bit slower because this is the second episode that we're recording tonight. And again, it is a TBR glass. It's the one with the four faces on it there, if you can see. Available to buy from tallboyradio.com. Half of the profits go to charity, folks.
Good work, dude.
Thank you.
So yeah, and I get the pleasure of hosting this one, and I'm on a double trouble rum and coke. I was just going to go straight for the whiskey, and I thought, I can't do it. no, work and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, as I said earlier, we're doing film endings. Now, the premise for this was, I was talking about films, easy, do all this, and I thought, well, let's just do it about endings, good and bad endings. And I started writing a list. I'm like, oh my God. I think this probably took me the longest to write out than any other. And this is like, not even including like the serial killers researching people. It took me longer to write. So what we'll do is just go around, say a film, say why you. So we'll start with the good stuff. So like, if I just say one ending I particularly like, was a film called Inception in 2010. What I like about endings is a little twist or something like that, something different from the norm. I'm fed up of seeing these happy endings and stuff like that where, I just woken up and everything was a dream and stuff like that. It's like, it's got
been watching Dallas.
That's right. Yeah, that was Dallas. That was.
It's so many things. But like Inception, it was. Each person has like a little object that it grounds them to the reality, what all they think it does. So Leonardo DiCaprio's item was like a little spinning top, and he spins it at the end, but then it cuts out before you know what happens. It topple over as it keep on spinning. And Christopher Nolan directed turned around saying, "Well, it's up to the user's perception. Well, it's up to how you perceive it." And I thought that was quite a good ending of doing it like that, because it's like an open ending. There's not going to be a sequel unless they do a remake of. Yeah, we won't go down that route, like Ghostbusters or something. I mean, it's like, to me that tickled my funny bone, because it was just a good, nice ending of, what's the answer? What is it? And you want more, but you're not getting more. What about yourself? Have you guys seen Inception? Or?
I have seen it, and just before you're going to say that, I said, was that the one with the spinning top? So I remember the spinning top, but I don't necessarily remember the significance of it. If you know what I mean, I vaguely remember when you said they will have an item, and I vaguely remember the spinning top. But as I say, I don't remember the premise. I remember watching, thinking, decent film and stuff. But I don't remember it in massive detail.
Yeah, they go into different dreams. So, say if we all go into one of our dreams, and then within that we can go into someone else's dreams, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So you have the spinning top, so the weight of it and the size of it and the feel of it. So if you're in the dream and you spin it, it'll be different. It might float or something like that.
Right.
Because that person who's hosting that dream won't know what that object is, for example.
Right. I have seen that film, but I don't remember too much about it, though.
I liked it. So I've watched it once about 10 years ago.
Obviously struck a chord.
I just remember it, I think. Yeah. About yourself, then, who wants to go next?
Go on, Ad, off you go.
So we're doing good endings at this point, aren't we, as well? So my my favourite probably ending to any film is actually one of my favourite films, and that's Citizen Kane, which is the Orson Welles film from 1941. And the whole premise for the film is basically this incredibly rich person dies who seems to have absolutely everything gifted to him on a plate. And his final words are scrambled by the media to discover what they actually mean. Literally, he sits there and he passes away in his chair, and the glass falls from his hand, and then he utters the word rosebud. And throughout the whole film, the question is, what does that word that he's uttered mean? Because it doesn't seem to really mean a great deal. And literally, it then goes to the bit where he's a young boy, he's playing in the snow, and he's taken away from his parents after he makes this incredible inheritance, and then he has this huge media mogul, and his life then continues on these different paths, and he becomes incredibly, incredibly wealthy up until the point where things start to unfold a little bit, and he passes away. And if you've not seen it, I apologise, listeners, but Rosebud refers to the sledge he had and he was playing with in the snow when he was a young boy. And the point of that is that this is a man who seems to have absolutely everything in his life except for one thing, and that is he's lost control of the narrative. It's taken away from him. It's dictated to him. He seems to have everything gifted to him on a silver platter, but he doesn't, because the one thing he wants is that childhood innocence that he had, and it is that sledge. And at the end, it just shows the sledge. Then it says Rosebud on the end. And if you've not seen the film, I apologise now if you haven't, you would never have predicted what the meaning was. But it is a fantastic film. It tells a great story of the media, which I think we talked about last week when we talked about sort of the Orwellian films that we talked about, the Orwellian stories rather, that we talked about. This is very much like that. It's prevalent today. It's as relevant today as it was back in 1941, the power of the media. It really is a phenomenal film, and an incredibly well-acted film by Orson Welles, who directed it at very, very early 20s, I think he was when he made it. And he played the lead character all the way up until the very, very end as an old gentleman who passed away in a chair. But absolutely phenomenal ending to a film. It blew me away the first time I saw it, and I've seen that film. I've lost count of how many times I've seen that film. I love it.
Yeah, I've not seen the film, but I know the ending because I think it's been in like The Simpsons or something like that.
But I think it is. It's Mr. Burns, isn't it?
Yeah. I probably should throw in a few things here. One, there may be spoilers ahead. That should have been an intro. Number two, I haven't seen a film. Number three, if you're a multi-millionaire and you're struggling, throw some my way. We'll see it. Yeah. But yeah, it sounds a good film. I can't. Yeah, like I say, I haven't watched it.
Brilliant film.
I'll add it to the list. What about yourself, Gaz? What have you got? On mute.
You're on mute again, Gaz.
Sorry, a bit of a 24-hour theory, because I think when we were sort of chatting on the WhatsApp group, I think it was Andy sent a message through, and that actually is the ending of one of my favourite films, and also one of the best endings of any film that I've seen. Seven. It's an amazing film, like absolutely amazing film, and it goes back to what you said a minute ago, Andy, about it's not necessarily that good triumphs over evil, because actually it doesn't in this film, and actually throughout the whole film, there's moral questions asked about pretty much every character and stuff, but the ending, and if I say what's in the box, that ending from that film is phenomenal. And again, spoiler alert. You've got Brad Pitt plays a detective Mills, and he's moved, I think it's into Detroit, and he falls under the wing of Morgan Freeman, who plays a guy called Detective Somerset, who's old and wizened and all of this, and Brad Pitt's got a youngish wife, Gwyneth Paltrow. So there you go, you got Brad Pitt, Gwyneth Paltrow, Morgan Freeman, and effectively they stumble across a couple of bodies, and it's basically based around the 7 deadly sins. And there's a John Doe character, and you don't learn his name through the film, and he's basically killing people based on the sins that they've sort of associated with their persona. And it wraps it up and there's gluttony and there's greed and there's all sorts of these 7 deadly sins. Anyway, it gets to the end of the film, and the perpetrator walks into the police station and said, "It's me," and he basically confesses it's me. So they arrest him and stuff, and he basically makes them take him out to the desert, middle of the desert, and all of a sudden they're like, "Wow, we're here," and then like this UPS van arrives or whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And this box has been told to deliver and be delivered, and Brad Pitt's like, "What's in the box? What's in the box?" So and it's Morgan Freeman's character that opens the box, and literally opens the box and he's sort of shocked, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" If you haven't seen it, it's like, "Oh my god, what is in the box?" And all you can see is then Morgan Freeman. He's on the mic and stuff, and they got like helicopters around, and he's like, "John Doe has the upper hand now. John Doe has the upper hand now," sort of thing. And Brad Pitt's character starts to descend into, I suppose, this real like awful place, because John Doe, the character John Doe, Kevin Spacey plays John Doe, and he's talking to him about like the sort of the what he's done, and Brad Pitt doesn't want to believe him. Basically, the premise is that John Doe's killed Brad Pitt's wife and unborn child. And just as Morgan Freeman's getting back to them because he's seen what's in the box, John Doe sort of talks about this unborn child. Well, Brad Pitt's character didn't know his wife was pregnant and stuff, and that's like a crushing moment. And the best bit is when Brad Pitt turns around to sort of Detective Mills. He turns around to Morgan Freeman and he says, "What's in the box?" And it's basically that the one person that he truly trusts in life to tell him the truth. But Morgan Freeman's character knows that if he tells him the truth, that's going to absolutely crush him because his wife and his unborn child is dead, basically. And it's a fantastic, fantastic moment. And Morgan Freeman basically pleads with Brad Pitt not to shoot John Doe, because actually by doing that, the prophecy is fulfilled and all the 7 deadly sins have now been sort of borne out, because actually it's wrath or envy or whatever it is, revenge that you want to talk about. And actually by shooting him, he will have won. And you're like, yeah, he's never going to shoot him. And in the end, literally Brad Pitt's going bang and shoots me. You're like, what? Seriously? He seriously just shot this guy in effectively cold blood? And then all the police are like coming around and stuff. And he's like, yeah, he's going to need a bit of support now. And I remember watching the film, and the film is brilliant. It ranks in my top 5 favourite films of all time. But that ending is just fantastic. And I didn't realise, doing a bit of research, I didn't realise they actually shot a second ending, but you don't see it. It's been filmed and stuff, but it's never really been released to see it. And when they were making it and they were releasing it, like the film company wanted to put a different ending on it, but the director said, no, that's it. So they played it down a bit, and they basically gave Morgan Freeman like a voiceover at the end, and it's all to do with, hope and are the lives that we have worth fighting for and all of that sort of thing. There's like a voiceover. But that bit where he says, "What's in the box?" and you see him start to just go into himself, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant film. All the way through, it's brilliant. But that ending, 100% one of the best endings of a film ever.
Forgot about that film. After that gift the other day.
I've got to say though, can I just chuck this out there now? I bet this isn't the last time today that Gaz mentions Kevin Spacey.
You're right.
I was trying to egg you on a little bit, like, oh, who's in it?
Well, did you notice I was waiting John Doe, and I could see you going, yeah, okay, it was Kevin Spacey that played it, yeah. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I said Kevin Spacey, I nearly spit his beer out laughing.
Well, shows he's quite a bad guy. Got a good range, isn't he?
On genuinely though, listeners, if you haven't seen it, the whole film is just stunning. It's dark. It's sinister. It pretty much reigns the whole way through the film. There isn't much bright lighting or sort of scenery. It literally is dour, and it proper is just the underbelly of society and stuff. And it's a phenomenal film. It's brilliant, and I love it. I love the film.
Yeah, it's quite a different film for the time as well, isn't it? When
and it's harrowing. There's one bit they walk in, and they find a series of like Polaroids of this guy that's basically been slowly dying, and then all of a sudden he's on this like gurney and stuff, and he's like, and they're like, oh my good God, he's alive, sort of thing. And it's like the actual sheer will of the John Doe to keep this guy alive for the period of time that he has. And there's a scene in where they talk to the hospital doctor. I can't for the life of me remember the exact quote, but it's basically, the police like, can we question him? And the doctor's like, well, hell no, because he bit off his own tongue like months ago, sort of thing, And he said, this guy's gone through pretty much the most pain that any one human being can go through, and now he's got hell to look forward to. And you're like, oh, what, really? But yeah, the whole thing is just brilliant. Have you watched it? Have you seen the film?
Yeah, I must admit I've seen it. It is a very good film.
Yeah,
it's very well acted with a very good cast.
Yeah, very good cast. You've seen it, haven't you, Andy? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a while ago. Yeah, I probably need to rewatch it.
It's one of those. If it's on, I will probably watch it, sort of thing. I love that film. In my top 5 favorite films of all time. So, and I say not just the ending, but the ending is brilliant.
Nice. We got a good list so far. Do you want to go next, Ad, or do you want me to go? I
don't mind going. There's another film that I enjoy as well, and it's a little bit more modern than the last one. You'll be pleased to hear, but it is one of those films that is probably now. I don't think it's going to be a spoiler because it's one that everybody knows the end to, and that's M. Night Shyamalan's Sixth Sense, starring Bruce Willis.
That got on my notable list as well.
Absolutely, and a young Haley Joel Osment, who's that one guy you tipped to be incredible as an adult, and then now we just don't really see him anymore, other than in a few things where he's virtually unrecognisable.
Literally unrecognisable, yeah.
Well, that is just an incredible film, because I remember going to see that at the cinema, and I'm a big fan of Bruce Willis. I do enjoy a lot of his films. But that for me was a very different film and a very different role that he played in there. Quite a sensitive character, which he doesn't normally play, but I think he played it really, really well. And all the way through when he's counselling this child who's seeing dead people, as he famously says, you have no idea in that film how it's going to turn out, what that incredible plot twist is going to be, up till the very end when he starts explaining it to him. And I can remember being sat there in the cinema and hearing the whole audience taking a deep gasp of breath, because everybody had that joined experience of experiencing that shock at the first time. And I know M. Night Shyamalan, he's made a couple of films with unusual ending, like Signs, Unbreakable, and is it The Village, where they've got these plot twists at the end. They're all okay films, spoiled mostly by the ending. But this one was one where he hit absolute gold. Just an incredible ending, And if you haven't seen it, again, I apologize because there's a spoiler coming. You have no idea. Although when you think about it, Bruce Willis takes a shot in the stomach at the very start of the film. It's going to take your life. The bottom line is there's no protection there. If that whole area gets destroyed by a .44 or whatever it is, or even the .22, if that starts ricocheting off your bones, you're in a world of trouble. You ain't getting past that one. So you probably should have seen it coming, but you don't, because he's there and he's in the rest of the film. And then when you watch it back for the second time, that's when it gets even more impressive, because you think, oh, holy hell, there is literally at the point where, after the point he's shot, Haley Joel Osment's character is the only one who interacts with him, apart from the time when he tries to talk to his wife while she's asleep. Oh, what? Honestly, it is a phenomenal film. It's one I'm probably going to bed really late tonight when I bust that one out again tonight because it's a phenomenal film.
It is that made my notable list, and I remember watching it being absolutely like everybody else, like you said, absolutely oblivious to even the potential of this plot twist. Nobody saw it coming, and you were like, sort of thing. And you then watch it back after, and you're like, yeah, surely he's got a shadow. Surely Bruce Willis's character's got a shadow. No. Surely there's like a reflection of Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment's characters on like a door handle. No. Bruce Willis isn't there. Haley Joel Osment is, but Bruce Willis is. And all this, and I remember reading, thinking, people say, oh yeah, there's no reflection in the mirror, there's no shadow. You know, when the swings are moving, Bruce Willis gets up and the swing doesn't move. Yeah, and all these things throughout the whole film, you're like, no. And you go back and you watch it and think, shit, yeah, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
So well, yeah, it's so well done.
And it's brilliant. And I remember, and it's only subsequently reading that they were talking about the colour red, and the colour red is, so when Bruce Willis starts talking to Haley Joel Osment the first time, there's like a red canopy on a door, and then if you watch the film back again, they associate red with Bruce Willis's character, and there's lots of red in the scenes that he's in and stuff, and you're just like, actually, when he's walking through like the funeral bit, and you've got the wake at the house, and you're right, actually nobody else talks to Bruce Willis. So literally nobody else talks to him. You're just like, really? And you don't notice that at first. You genuinely don't notice it.
Yeah. So clever. So clever.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant, mate. Yeah, really very good.
I need to rewatch it. I put off watching it when it first came out just because I hate kids being the main star of the film.
Probably avoid Bugsy Malone then.
I don't think it's kids being the stars, but it's when like, say, is it I can't remember, like, was it Three Ninjas or what's something like in the 90s where three little kids beat up grown men. And it's like they're like 10 years old or something. It's like, no, I'd literally just get my fist and go bam, and I'd be dead. And don't get me started on Harry Potter.
No, please start on Harry Potter because I am really not a fan.
But yeah, it put me off. I just didn't like that Haley Joel Osment at the time. I watched it since, and I thought it is a good film. But yeah, at the time I was just
Haley Joel Osment is very good in it. To be fair to him,
brilliant.
He's like the kid from the Terminator films, though, isn't he? Like brilliant child actor, then goes off the rails. I was thinking of because they both got quite chubby, didn't they? And I was thinking, go for Wales. That came from.
It's that bloody double trouble. Whatever it is you're drinking there, that's the problem.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping tonight. So I don't know. I can't remember when we started the podcast now, but we're not halfway through it anyway. I've got quite a big list of good, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump down a couple because there's one old film in here that is one of my all-time favourites. I don't know whether I watched it when I was a little kid, and I think I probably tie it to my dad more. That's why I like it. It's Convoy with Chris Christopherson.
Yeah. We got a great big boy
trucking through the
night.
Got
a Steve tune. And I watched it like a few months back, and I still love it. I think it's because it reminds me of being younger or whatever. But like spoiler obviously, he just drives his truck straight at him, at the police and all that, and it goes off the bridge because it's getting shot up and stuff, and everyone's like, oh, he's dead, and then there's a little bus at the end, and he just goes quack quack because his nickname's and I just love that little ending. Probably not the best ending in the world, but it's like a nice little thing. And then the police guy, I forget his name, but he's in like Smoking the Bandit and all that, isn't he? Is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Jackie Gleason.
Is that? Oh yeah, miles off him. Yeah, he's just sat there laughing, like classic film, guys.
I have one left, but I'm not going to say it because I only have three endings that absolutely blew me away. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to leave it to Gaz because I'm fairly sure he'll have this as one of his favourite films and favourite endings.
Well, I've got sort of two left. One of which stars Kevin Spacey.
That's the one.
And one of which, ironically, stars Morgan Freeman. But I'll go for the Kevin Spacey one first. And the Kevin Spacey one first is The Usual Suspects, which, again, actually ranks in my top 5 all-time favourite films. What an ending that is. Seriously, what an ending that is. And, again, spoiler alert, if you don't know the film, there's a series of sort of small-time crooks, and they basically get... Whenever there's a crime that's been committed, they always get pulled into these lineups, and they're always the same guys. So hence the name of the film, The Usual Suspects. We'll pull these in. Let's see if we can recognise them. And the character is a guy called Kaiser Soze, who is this notorious international sort of hitman, for want of a better term. And there's always there's a shipment of goes missing, and the cops are trying to investigate who it is, and this guy was on the boat, and he's being effectively brought to America to be witness protected, and Kaiser Soze gets on the boat, and the boat burns, and this guy's lying in the hospital. It's like Kaiser Soze sort of thing, and they try to protect him, and in the end they pull this character called Virgil, who is Kevin Spacey, and Kevin Spacey plays Virgil. The character's a cripple, and he's like, and he does this thing with his fingers. How can I look the devil in the eye and try and shoot him? I might miss, and all this. And the ending is literally one of those that you went, what the fudge? And it's right at the end. The police guy, is it Chaz Palminteri, I think, realises what's going on, but he realises maybe like 2 minutes too late. And he's had Kaiser Soze, this international guy, in his police cell, in his police room, talking for the last hour or whatever. And he lets him go. And then this fax comes through of what this character looks like, this Kaiser Soze, and it's basically a picture of Kevin Spacey. And the cop is like, drops his sort of tea mug, and he looks at his board, and basically the story that Kevin Spacey's just told him is names and photos and pictures and branding and everything that's on this guy's board. And he talks about that, there was this orca of a woman, she was this, and actually there's a photo of a big woman on there. And as the cop has been drinking his cup of tea, you've got, is it Kobayashi as the name of the Morgan stuff. And it's just like, this whole story has just been made by this character, and he lets him go. But the best bit is he sort of limps down the street, the sidewalk, as Americans call it. And then the immortal line of the biggest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And then Kevin Spacey's character, basically, you just see him just slowly turn this limp into like a purposeful walk. And then his chauffeur, Pete Postlethwaite, just opens the door and he gets in, and you're just like... And then Chaz Palminteri comes running out of the police station to like look for him, but obviously he's gone, and he's just like... Dude, seriously, like the whole ending of the film, you're like, what? Like, just brilliant.
Genius. Yeah. Absolute genius film.
I've not seen it. And that ending, they copied it in a Scary Movie, didn't they? Was it Scary Movie 1 or 2?
I don't know, but if you haven't seen it, Andy, seriously, watch the film, dude.
That needs to be rectified.
The police guy sounds like Chief Wiggum. That whole story. He's like,
did he even get a registration number?
That was worse than my Arnie impression last week.
But no, honestly, they're like... So Kevin Spacey's character, obviously, he plays this Virgil, and everyone's expecting this, like, Kaiser Soze to be this, like, hulking, great big sort of Arnie character, meat axe of a guy sort of thing, and actually, he's not. He's just this mild-mannered cripple guy. Obviously, he's got this alter ego, and everybody throughout the whole film, you think it's Gabriel Byrne's character. You think it's him. You absolutely... The whole film is centered around him, and you think it's definitely him. He's on the boat. He sees this. He sees that. He's basically fixed these guys up, and he's stitched them up, and the whole film. And then, like I say, right at the end, they Kevin Spacey's character sort of walks out, and he's just like, wow, what an ending. Just and as I said, the film itself is brilliant and is in my top 5 of all time. Genius film. Absolutely genius film.
So was that going to be your one as well, Ad?
That was my last one that I had, but I knew Gaz would sell it better than I could.
Sorry, dude. It's just brilliant. Do you want to add anything about that film? I mean, obviously, I've spoken a lot about it, man, but do you want to add anything up?
No, actually, I think you covered it off, to be honest, absolutely beautifully, because you named everything that I absolutely love about that ending. The film, all the way through, is brilliantly acted, and you buy into all the characters that Gabriel Byrnes and all this. You love seeing the interplay between them. And then when you see the end of the film, it's just like, oh my God, I've been sold down the river as much as it's cop-ass because I bought into the whole story. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Andy, you have to. In fact, that's your homework. You've got to watch it. You've got to tell us what you think because it is genius. It's brilliant. Have you've got another one though, haven't you, Andy? You can go through.
Yeah, I've got a
you crack on.
What I'll do is I'll smash these next two out quickly because, it's quite easy to do. One of them ties into something from last week, so Blade Runner. A lot of the undertone of the story is Deckard real, or is he an android as well? And he questions himself and stuff like that. I don't know if it's basically at the end of the film. All androids have like a code under their eyelid, so when they look up and look left,
which book is it based on?
That other one I said last week. Do androids dream electric sheep?
Oh, what? I thought normal service had been resumed.
I paused. I did that professional delay until I remember what it was. That book. When androids look up and left, they get a little code in their iris or something like that. And right in the last few seconds, I think he does it, and he's an android. So I thought that was a good ending. I like the film. It's class all over.
But I don't remember the ending sort of per se, but I do like the film, and as you said, the very sort of noir, sort of bright lights, big city sort of. I do quite like that genre, but I don't remember the ending per se. I have to admit.
Yeah, I undersold it compared to the film you just described, but
well, to be fair, dude, Blade Runner is a classic, but Usual Suspects, mate. And the title of the podcast is like best and worst endings. That is one of the best endings you ever wish to see. So, yeah, you might not top that, and I might not top that on my next one as well. But it's just an ending that I quite like. So I think it rounds the film off really well. Which is a film that I've got with Morgan Freeman in it and a guy called Tim Robbins, and it's actually my very favourite film of all time, and it's Shawshank Redemption, which is actually based on a Stephen King novel, which if once you've seen the film you realise there's a poster of Rita Hayworth sort of thing, that's where the name of the book comes from. But the Shawshank Redemption, the end is brilliant because Tim Robbins' character basically is a guy that gets sent into prison and claims he's innocent, and he meets Morgan Freeman's character, Red, who says, well, everybody is innocent. You only have to speak to that guy, and that guy, everybody says they're innocent, and here there's no guilty guys in prison sort of thing. Everybody says they're innocent. And it actually turns out that he is, but it's only really years later you find it out, but he spends his time trying to dig his way out. There's lots of stuff that goes on, with the warden, and he breaks into his office and he plays really loud music across the speakers, and there's just some fantastic scenes in there. And he talks about this place called Saywantaneo, which is a place on the border, and he envisages going there and doing up a boat and doing some fishing trips and stuff. And basically Andy Dufresne, who is Tim Robbins' character, breaks out of prison, and he basically says to Red, if you ever get out, look me up in Saywantaneo. And he basically leads on a bit of not a wild goose chase, but a bit of like a treasure hunt, and he tells him to go to this tree, and he digs under this tree and he finds this box with some money and then a note, and he said, do you remember the name of the place that I told you? And Morgan Freeman sort of says Saywantaneo, and then you see him on this bus, and the last bit of the film you see Morgan Freeman's character, and it's like I suppose nowadays it'd be shot by a drone, but back in the day like flying camera, and you can just see Morgan Freeman's character, and he walks across the beach and you can just see Andy Dufresne sort of in the distance, and he looks up from his boat and he sort of gives him a wave, and it's just like it's just a brilliant ending. It's the whole film, hope over despair and all of that and stuff. But the ending it's not the most sort of ending or the most sort of action filled ending, but just in terms of those two characters and what they went through, the bond that they created to then meet outside of prison is just fantastic.
Satisfying is the word with it. It's that perfect ending for the film, isn't it? And
it's perfect, yeah.
Yeah, throughout the whole thing, as great as the story is, if Morgan Freeman doesn't narrate it, it takes away from the story, because that adds to it. Hearing his voice, because he has a fantastic voice you could listen to. And there's no book you've ever read, no story you could ever imagine that wouldn't be made better by Morgan Freeman narrating it. It's phenomenal.
The film is my number one favourite film, as I say, of all time, and as you say, the voiceover, and I mean Brooks, who is so institutionalised, and when he gets out of prison, he's finally allowed to leave prison. This old guy, and he gets out, and there's cars and there's bright lights, and he just doesn't know what to do, so he ends up committing suicide. And he's just like, really, he's so institutionalised, being in prison for so long, that he just doesn't know what to do when he's outside, and he's on his own. He's got none of his people there, and he's just like, oh, really, sort of thing.
Gets me every time that film does. Gets me every time, especially at that point. Like when especially, and then when he visits the same apartment.
And Brooks go then, and you see it there.
Brooks was here. Yeah.
Oh, dude, no, absolutely, yeah. It's and so, but the ending. Yeah, it's as I say, there's no, there's no massive action sequence. It's literally just Morgan Freeman's character walking across this massive open expanse of beach, and it's a beautiful beach, it's beautiful sea, it's clear blue skies, and obviously Andy Dufresne's character is just like scrubbing this boat down, working on this boat, and he just looks up, and it's just a perfect ending for the film. It's brilliant, and yeah, it's my favourite film of all time. And the ending just makes it. It's genius.
I probably need to rewatch that, because the last bit I don't know what sticks in my head is just when he goes to the tree and he finds that little box, and for some reason the film ends for me at that point. I completely forgot about the beach bit.
but it's that little treasure hunt. It's that, like, Andy Dufresne's been there, and he's obviously talked to him. He says, if I do get out, I'll leave it here and I'll do this, and all the way through the film, just little nuggets of, and he's absolutely convinced he's going to get out, and Morgan Freeman's like, yeah, whatever. And one of the best bits is Morgan Freeman's up for parole on 2 or 3 occasions. Like the first time, he's like, yeah, I've changed. I'm this new man. I'm really resentful. And they like declined, and then the next time he just declined, and then the last time he goes in, he's like, basically, I couldn't give a fudge whether you let me out or not, sort of thing. I've been in here that long now, and they're like, yeah, accepted, sort of thing, and then he gets to go out, and it's brilliant. And he, I say, he finds the box and he finds the money, and he's on this, and you can genuinely tell that Morgan Freeman's character Red he's really excited. He's excited about what he's going to see. He's on the coach, and he can hardly contain his excitement. And then he sees him, and it's just, and as you say, the voiceover towards the end is it's incredibly uplifting. It's such a good ending to the film. You couldn't think of any better ending to that film. It's genius. Loved it.
I'll throw one more that I thought was a good ending out, and it is quite a bit different from that. So going back to when we did a dreams episode, I think I said about one of my most peaceful dreams is when, like, something happened. I can't remember all of it, and then I just remember seeing this white. Everything was white, and there's this little feather doing that, just floating down, and I just remember being so peaceful. Well, this film, Avengers: Infinity War, sort of had that same sort of somber sort of tone to it, where I don't know if you know it, but when Thanos clips his finger, wipes out half the universe, and everyone's just like, what the fudge? And it's just quiet, and it's like, oh, that's a bit of, most films won't have gone that far. They would have stopped him, and although it was part of a, there's a film after it which sorted out that sort of ending, but it was just good to see an ending that like against all the odds, they actually lost, and they had to do something to do it. Normally, you get an ending line, they'll kill the bad guy before he does anything. But this was like he wiped out half the universe.
Yeah.
And everyone's just stood around like, oh great, like what now? And I just liked
Any
it.
ideas, guys?
Yeah, it's just I think it's because it was such a surprise. I was just like, fair play. I was at the cinema like watching that. I was like, wow, decent.
I'm not familiar with that one. I'll be honest with you. I remember the lad at work told me about it, and I was like, okay, no, you need to explain this to me in further depth. I don't get it.
To be fair, Infinity War is if you haven't seen a number of the sort of, I say, Marvel universe sort of films beforehand, I'm trying to think whether or not is it Guardians of the Galaxy maybe that actually probably influences it quite a bit. And obviously there's various other characters. Obviously Doctor Strange is in there quite a bit and stuff. But if you haven't seen it, a couple of the precursors to it, you probably will struggle to know what's going on in it. Is that fair to say, Andy?
Yeah, there's like 19 films that lead up to that last one.
19?
So it's something like that. Yeah, you got
Crazy.
all the Iron Man films with Robert Downey Jr., Captain America, like 2 or 3 films. You got 2 or 3 Avengers films before that.
Was Black Panther? Was that
Black Panther was for it as well, yeah, and they're all in it as well. So it's the biggest project that it's ever been done. They're going into the next phase now as well, where after all that stuff, like, well, what's happening now? And because they've now got the rights back to X-Men and all that sort of stuff, they're all going to get introduced to it. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next phase, but yeah, there's a ton of films to lead up to that point. And then Josh Brolin played Thanos, who's he's a brilliant actor. Doing his Deadpool.
But it's when he just was it Thanos? He just goes like, is that so? Did he? And then because it effectively collects the Infinity Rings, that's the sort of premise, and he needs these Infinity Rings to sort of thing, and he just sort of, and then literally everyone's like, and you're just like, what's just happened, sort of thing.
Yeah, I just love it because it's such a different ending. And
absolutely, yeah.
So now we've got all the good stuff out of the way, haven't we? The bad list was actually quite hard to do. It is quite hard to have a good film with a bad ending. They're probably over the years you probably think, oh yeah, I remember that. Then when I was doing the list, I was like, no, I've got about 4 things. 2 of them arguable, but I'm going to throw them out there.
I've got a couple of films and a TV series. I'll go with one of the films, and it's actually by a director that Adam's already mentioned. I think he might mention the film along with so Bruce Willis's character Unbreakable. So it was M. Night Shyamalan and it's Signs, and I think it was Mel Gibson. What a horrendous ending to the film that is. The film, it leading up to, you're like, okay, it's okay. Yeah, I get it. Fair enough. It's a bit creepy, and as all M. Night Shyamalan films are. And then right at the end, you find out these creatures can be damaged by the aliens, can be damaged and hurt and killed by water. So they decide to come to a planet that's populated like over 75% of water. Seriously? Like it like that makes no sense. Like none. Like their weakness is water. Yet these creatures decide to come to Earth. Like, how does that even happen? Like, they have interstellar travel available to them. Just go somewhere else that hasn't got water. Do you know what I mean? Like, the whole thing would... And I get it. There's the whispering in the cornfields or whatever. And I sort of get it. And then it's like, water? Seriously? So that, for me, was just like, that's a crock of crap, that is. I wasn't having any of that, to be fair, so... Yeah, and M. Night Shyamalan's done a couple of decent ones. Unbreakable was okay, and Sixth Sense was brilliant. Obviously, we spoke about that's brilliant, but Signs for me, not having that at all.
I've not seen it.
Don't.
Don't
To be fair, the first half hour, 40 minutes, you think, a typical M. Night Shyamalan.
Spooky.
Yeah, a little bit spooky, a little bit weird, a little bit like, oh, what is that? And it's like a house that's like, is it like surrounded by like cornfields and stuff? And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. Typical M. Night Shyamalan, a bit dark, bit spooky. And then, nah, just don't bother, kid. It is very good. So that for me is a terrible ending for films. I don't understand why they'd even decide to come to Earth. So hey ho.
I'll jump in a similar film then. War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise version.
I have not
It's
seen
just
that.
like, well, I don't know how different it is to like the original and all that, but basically, aliens attack Earth. Tom Cruise and his kid get separated from his family because they got blown up or something like their house. So then he goes like through this countryside and all this stuff, getting shot at, blah blah blah. I think he gets back to his home or something like that, and his family are there. And then it just cuts out, and then there's like a voiceover saying, all the aliens died because they're allergic to like microbes or something like that. And it's like, right, well, why don't you show that then?
Well, the other thing is, it's like, but didn't his wife or ex-wife and son get blown up, and then he goes off with his new bird, and then like spend the whole film trying to get back to his ex-wife? It's like, but didn't they just blow up? Have you not just seen them literally blow up in the house? So then it's just like, what's all that about? Not a patch on the was it the Richard Burton screenplay, or was it radio version, which is fantastic by the way, but yeah, that film's terrible.
Yeah. Well, we forgot how to end it. Just cut to black and we'll do a voiceover. We'll get Morgan Freeman.
Now, if Morgan Freeman had done a voiceover saying all the aliens would have died because they were allergic to microbes, you'd have bought the whole thing. It'd have been brilliant.
Said, fair play. Yeah,
Morgan Freeman said it has to be,
So what have you got for this one then, Ad?
Well, one of my favourite actors is a chap by the name of Jim Carrey. Very intelligent bloke. And as good as he is at doing comedy, he's actually very good at doing drama as well. Have you ever seen the film The Number 23?
No.
Good film all the way through, right up until the end. And it's this bloke who's slowly descending into madness because he's finding these novels by someone by the name of Top Secrets, obviously, which is a very poor pseudonym. His name's Walter Sparrow, and he's reading this story about Inspector Fingerling, I think it is. And as he's following it through, the number 23 seems prevalent all the way through the film, and he's following the clues. And ultimately, it transpires that these books were written by him when he was someone suffering with amnesia after committing a murder, after chucking himself out of a hotel and giving himself brain damage, and he takes himself back to that position where he does it again. And it's like, oh, this is just dreadful. It's dreadful because it's such a fantastic story all the way through when he's following these clues that you need something that unfolds. The denouement needs to be so much better than it is. And it's literally the weakest ending from the strongest film that I've seen, literally, of any film. I've seen some films with some endings where you think, well, that's disappointing. But this is like, oh, come on now. This deserves better. Because it's so well acted as well.
Yeah. He's done a few good films, like he's not the comedy guy. But yeah.
Oh no, even things like the Truman Show. It's not a comedy, and that is actually, we go back to a film with an absolutely fantastic ending. What a story that is!
Yeah,
and again, it shows his acting range in that, where he is this comedic character who's the star of a reality TV show who doesn't realize it. And then slowly everything starts to break down around him, and he needs to break out of that mold, and he does. And it's a wonderful ending. That's the ending that number 23 needed, and it just didn't get it. It's like, come on, we can do better than this.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it. Whether or not I will now, unlikely after you say.
No, don't bother. Don't bother.
My other than the Game of Thrones, which we could do a whole new podcast, so I'm not really going to talk about. My last really bad ending, and don't laugh when I say this, but Titanic, and don't say, oh well, the boat sinks, so everyone knows the ending. If you watch it, and I've watched it a couple of times because Jenny likes them and stuff, so the boat sinks, they're in the ocean. So you got Jack, who is Leonardo DiCaprio. You got Rose, who is whatever her name is,
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet's lying on like a massive, great big oak sort of door, and Leonardo DiCaprio's character is got his hands on the door, and he's basically floating in the ocean. And he's like, Rose, I'll never forget you. I'm fucking freezing. I'm gonna die. Just climb on the fucking door with her. Like, there's plenty of room. Like, why not just lie on there and get her to lie on you? You don't have to be there just draping yourself over it, being half submerged in a freezing cold ocean. Just climb out, dude. Like, seriously, just get off and get on that. And then then he lets go, and then he floats under, and she just lets him go. It's like, really? Like, how does that even work?
He was afraid of commitment and actually dropped down. Swam off somewhere.
He actually didn't really want to be with her at all whatsoever. Okay, the film has won millions of Oscars and actually is a good film. Film. It is a good film. But obviously she's recounting the story. The older lady, Rose, she's recounting the story and stuff, and then she finds the gem in her pocket, and that's where she made, this gem is whatever the stone is. But that bit is like, makes no sense. Like, to me, absolutely no sense. Just, there's plenty of room on that raft or stroke door, stroke floating object. And even if there wasn't, you lie on there, get her to lie on you. Don't just float down into the ocean and die.
Have people done like experiments on it and stuff like that? I don't know if it's been on Mythbusters or not, but I'm sure people
it has been on Mythbusters.
Please don't tell me that actually it would have sank if there'd be two people on there.
It has been on Mythbusters.
And
you could get two people on it.
There you go, you see. There you go, you see. I'm not even being funny, dude. There's plenty of room on there. So,
and I'm willing to bet that Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman weigh a little bit more than Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. So for me, that was like a brilliant film, and I know lots of people joked at the start, and they were like, "Oh well, there's no point watching the film because you know how it ends, the boat sinks, sort of thing." And I get a bit tongue in cheek, but the whole film is a fantastic film. But that bit for me was a bit like, no, I'm not having that. Seriously, not having that. So that was my sort of really poor, I say, ending. It wasn't the actual end of the film because she recounts the story a little bit, but in terms of the end of the sort of the main plot, that's it for me. So yeah, not a fan of that one, I'm afraid.
Have you got any more, Ad?
I've got one, and I know Gaz is going to absolutely hate this when I say this. Return of the King. No, not Shawshank. I love Shawshank. Return of the King. Gaz absolutely loves those Lord of the Rings, and so do I. But Return of the King, it's like, I remember watching that in the cinema, and it's like, do you know what I mean? Great story. We all know. I've read the book, as I said, during my GCSEs. We listened to the last episode. And then it gets towards the end, and it's like, right, fair enough. And then like Frodo wakes up, and then the elves are getting on boat. It's like, come on, I'm busting for a piss here. Yeah, let's get on with it. I've been here for 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I dude, I take your point. When you read in the book, it's like, okay, I get this, but the film, I sort of get that, and in a way, it's a bit like Game of Thrones, but they did it in like, rather than Game of Thrones, you wrapped it up like, right, there you go. Lord of the Rings did it in a slightly longer version, so it's like you've got all these characters, and you have to show how all these characters end. But Lord of the Rings did it in like an hour and a half. And Game of Thrones did it in like 10 minutes, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So literally, it's like they go there, and then this character does this, and then this character does this, and you're like, oh, come on.
If you want to see the ultimate description of how that film ends, watch Clerks 2. That's all I'm going to say.
Small guy gets on a boat and fudges off, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but
well, yeah, just watch Clerks 2.
But no, I take your point, dude. Yeah, reading the book, you don't really get that sense. But when they then tried to make it into the films, it could have easily ended half an hour. I would say half an hour before it actually did, if you know what I mean. So,
didn't you film the last two films together or something like that? So
they filmed the whole thing together. They
filmed
the whole thing.
All 3 films, yeah.
Now, to be fair, Peter Jackson in terms of a film guru as such. What foresight that is to think, well, we need, I don't know, Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn to look like this. So what we'll do is we'll film that scene from, Two Towers or whatever, and we'll film that scene from Return of the King, literally like that on one day and that on the other day, but actually in the actual saga of the films, they're like bloody years apart, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So what foresight that is to think that is brilliant.
And if you watch the film Bad Taste, which is one of the earlier films he made, you would not have foreseen that level of film coming out of him.
No. Yeah, I mean, again, I love the books. We've spoken about it on a previous podcast. I love Tolkien, think he's a genius. Loved the film adaptations. Could watch the films over and over again. And actually, when you read the books, there's quite a bit they miss out. I mean, without boring our listeners, but Tom Bombadil doesn't appear in the films at all. But in the books, he's quite a sort of significant character because he's a ring bearer at one point. So
does he appear in The Hobbit though? Does he use him in The Hobbit? Again, that was. I don't know how they got like 3 films out of that book.
Well, the Beornings, are they in the films? I don't know. Are they?
Can't remember.
I don't know. Maybe that's a different podcast, but I'm pretty sure
that feels like a different podcast.
I'm pretty sure that Tom Bombadil doesn't appear in Lord of the Rings. I'm pretty sure he appears in the book, but I might be wrong. So, but Andy's looking at us like absolutely clueless now. He's like, "What are you talking about?" So
I've seen Lord of the Rings. I've not seen the Hobbit films, but I've seen the other 3.
Well, actually, while we're on about bad endings and stuff, there's no way they should have made. Was it 3 Hobbit films? No. Like, not maybe 2, but
so
certainly
trilogy though, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably 1. To be fair, but definitely not 3 of them. Although Martin Freeman got a pretty good gig out of it, so fair enough.
Freeman did well. When you think he literally played Tim out of The Office in it for the most part, pulling those frustrated looks at the camera. It's like, here we go. Yeah. Where's Dawn? Where's Dawn?
Absolutely, yeah. So, but yeah, they shouldn't have made three Hobbit films, but they did. So hey ho.
I've got a few more, but what I'll do is I'll throw this one out next. Actually, Click. I don't know if you've seen that Adam Sandler film where he gets a remote control and he can fast forward, pause.
I think I have, but I don't. I think I have.
He basically, like, every time he gets into an argument, he'll fast forward it. Every time he does something he don't want to do, he'll fast forward it. And the remote sort of remembers that stuff. So he just like wakes up and he'll be like 30 years old or whatever. Then he'll do something and then he'll just fast forward again. Then he's like 50 and all this stuff. And basically the ending is he dies at the end. And then he just wakes up in this shop that he was in right at the start of the film. And it was all a dream. But then Christopher Walken's character does pop up. So it's like, oh, he's the angel of death, whatever. He's actually showing him what his life will be like if he keeps doing what he's doing. But it's like, come on, I hate dream. Oh, it was all a dream. I hate them.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just lazy, I think. But the film itself is good because it's got Hasselhoff in it. And
it sounds a little bit like Christmas Carol, which is basically, this is showing you what your life could have been when it pans out, what it has been, what it could be, what it would be. And yet, it's also got Christopher Walken in it, to be honest. That sounds excellent. I love Christopher Walken.
It's got Christopher Walken in it.
The Hoff.
The Hoff, yeah. The guy out of the Goon is the young lad in it. I forgot his name. He's called Speedo Steve in this, anyway.
Corey Feldman?
No, not Feldman. The other. I think it's like the main sort of one. Mikey in it. I forget his name.
Oh, I can't think who played Mikey.
But yeah, he's in it, and he goes out with Adam Sandler's wife, something. So yeah, the other one I've got down is like I Am Legend. Like I said earlier, that the film changed the ending from the book.
Yeah, I when I was sort of looking at a couple of the films, like I Am Legend came up, and it was a bit like, really? So the last thing in it said, and then all zombies died. Hey, what? How does that work? Because doesn't Will Smith's character die? But then doesn't he inject somebody? But earlier on in the film, it's like he's the last living survivor. but then he finds others, so he isn't, or something. And then it's like, doesn't he inject them, and then they go to the army, and then the army reproduce it, and everybody's okay, and the zombies die.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And you're just a bit like,
in the book, it's they're not actually zombies. They're like there's like a pack of them that are quite clever, and he picks up on that in the film. But what the author turned around saying was that he was actually this Will Smith's character is actually testing on these people, these zombies who are actually intelligent life, and so to them he was a boogeyman. He was coming in, kidnapping them, running all the drug tests on them, and his original ending was something like. They both meet each other at the end, and I think Will Smith's character dies in the end, or maybe takes out the alpha male of this zombie crew, whatever. And it was supposed to be like, well, who is the bad guy, sort of thing. Although they're like mutation things or whatever, they were just trying to like live.
But from their perspective, he's a bad guy because he keeps coming onto their territory, taking them, and he's actually, I haven't read the book, but.
Yeah, no, either. I read it when I was researching the book stuff. That kept popping up. I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Well,
I know they're talking about when you look at like poor bad film endings or whatever. I know that I Am Legend is listed in quite a lot of the lists of bad film endings and stuff.
On the DVD, you do get the alternate ending where he has a grenade in his hand and he kills everyone, sort of thing.
Right. Okay.
Well, they never released it, sort of thing. Well, they did it on the DVD, not.
Yeah.
Cool. How we do for time anyway? I didn't keep a track.
Round about the hour mark.
Yeah, I think we're about there, aren't we now? Yeah.
Did I keep an eye on it, or was that all for show?
Of course you didn't. It's a good old double bluff there, Andy. I like that.
So I hope everyone found that interesting. It was a tough one, I thought, that one. So we won't do it again. There'll be no coming back. That's it.
No, I found the good endings. Oh, to be fair, the 2 or 3 of my favourite films, I think have got really, really strong endings. So Usual Suspects, Seven, and Shawshank. They're 3 of my top 5 favourite films of all time. Yeah, so
just not at the ending parts, I think.
Dude, if honestly you haven't seen Usual Suspects, you have to watch that film.
I'll add it to my to-do list.
Like seriously, I don't recommend you to watch many films or TV series, but you have to watch that film.
On that note, should we say goodbyes? Go on, Gaz.
Yeah, love this episode. Enjoyed sort of just chatting with the guys again, I suppose. Interesting that me and Ad sort of came up with a couple of similar sort of films and stuff. So, let's look. I know Andy said there won't be another one of these, but hey ho, you know us at TV Off, there's always a follow-up down the line somewhere or other. So, Ad's nodding his head furtively. So, Gaz out. Not much more, really. See you later, guys.
That should be our
quote.
No, I'm not. To be honest, I was just going to say that should be our catchphrase. There's always a follow-up. But just to chuck back to what you said earlier, Mikey was played by the guy who also plays Samwise Gamgee, Gaza.
Yeah.
Who was?
Sam. Oh, you put that.
Sean
Astin. Yeah, Sean Astin, yeah.
Who also features in Stranger Things. So yeah, great one. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Enjoyed. What does that mean? Nobody knows. Really enjoyed this one, actually. I've actually got plenty left actually in the bad, so maybe there will be a follow-up to this one. So just to say thank you very much. Enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.
So there you go. Ad will be out hosting the next Film Endings one. I hope you all, give us a list, like we always say this, but give us a list if there's any good or bad, or you disagree or agree or whatever, and we'll get you in the next one. Ciao.